What's going on, everybody? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, and welcome to another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, dig this. We have an awesome episode, and we actually have a special episode because this episode involves my cousin, the great Tim Sanders. And this brother, man, I'm going to tell you, you're going to hear why I referenced him as the great Tim Sanders. Well, first and foremost, he's a relative. You know what I'm saying? His mother and my great-grandmother were sisters, right? And so we're connected from a family perspective, but then we're also, what's up?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, we're also frat brothers. He's a man of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And but then he's also a brother who I refer to as everybody's sax man, meaning this brother is a saxophone aficionado that's played with everybody that you can think of from around the world over the last 5 decades. So the brother has a story. He has a journey. He's also a father. And so we're going to talk to him about his journey, his story, but then also connect the dots into how this thing has influenced his mindset and his perspective on life. So fellas and ladies listening to the, because y'all, they like to tune in to hear what we're talking about. To the Black Fathers Now podcast, I want to welcome you to my cousin, my frat brother, Tim Sanders. What's up, my man?
How are you, Mike? This is truly a pleasure and an honor. I hope I can come up to par, man.
Come up to par. Come on, man.
I don't play golf. I don't play golf, so I won't even say that.
Well, what would be the proper analogy to that in regards to music then? If we're not coming to par, what would be that thing of the leveling the playing field or finding that equal balance in music? What would that be?
That's an interesting question. Because actually, man, music is an ongoing quest, as life is.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly learning. I'm still practicing the same things I did when I started out early on, triads and scales and learning new techniques, still doing that today. So it never stops. And I think that's the thing that keeps you young and keeps you going too.
It never stops. It's a continuous evolution, right?
Exactly.
Continuous growth.
And the thing about it is, you only have 12 notes. In 700 years of this music that we use, there are only 12 notes in our Western system of music. Only 12 notes, and everybody come up with some different twist on it.
So 12 notes. That's fascinating because I'm not a musician. I like to dabble and tinker around and stuff, but I wouldn't be considered a musician. I didn't realize that there are only 12 notes.
12 notes that we use. Now you have microtones in between, but basically they're only 12 notes. And like I say, 700 plus years, Bach, Beethoven, James Brown, Charlie Parker, all use these same notes, but it all comes out with what they feel in their soul.
Wow. Yeah. That's fascinating. I mean, because and when you put it like that, it really helps to highlight the genius of real musicianship, because you have those, it's like if a cook only had 12 ingredients, or if all the chefs in the world just had 12 ingredients, how much of a variety would you have in regards to the food that you eat? Whereas music spans the globe, and you can go from one end of the spectrum to the other and something sounds totally different, but everybody's playing with these same 12 notes.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. And that's the ongoing effort to learn and expand on that. Right now, I'm involved while we hunkered down in this nightmare. I'm involved in a lot of workshops using the Zoom platform. It's one thing I do on every Thursday. I'm involved with 12 other saxophone players from around the world. We talk about various topics of harmonic progressions and how to manipulate the saxophone. So we discuss a lot of things, and that's using those 12 notes.
Wow. So it's kind of like the notion of it's not always what you have, it's what you do with it, right?
Hello. There you
go. Dig it. Because you can hand me a saxophone and I don't know if I can make one note. So
I feel like that sometimes myself. It's like I said, it's an ongoing thing. It doesn't stop. I say that, doubling back, but I still work on sound.
Mm-hmm.
the production of my sound, how pure is my sound. When I'm playing, improvising, can I forget can I forget about if this is a tritone that I'm playing? Is this a pentatonic? Forget all of that. And that's difficult to get to that point where the horn is just something you're holding and everything that else is flowing through you spiritually that's coming out. That's happened to me 4 times in my life.
Really?
Where it was like I wasn't even there.
Really? 4 times?
Right.
You know, like, do you remember those 4 times?
I remember 2 of them.
Well, let's, before we jump into that, with the format of the show, I always like to have the brothers give shout outs, right? Because the tagline to Black Fathers Now is bringing the village to the brothers, right?
Yeah.
And so who are we without our village? I mean, again, we do things individually on our own, but there are folks, or there have been folks, throughout our life that have helped us to get to the place that we are. So before we jump into it, and I want to definitely get back to the notion of those 2 experiences in which the thing actually flowed through you, give a shout out to your village, man.
You got 2 hours?
Man, look, we got as much. Look, I'm sitting with a legend. I got as much time as you need, brother.
Yeah. Well, first off, the house I came up in,
Mm-hmm.
not house, home.
Mm-hmm.
I came up in. My mother and father. My mother was a musician. She lived for music. She had perfect pitch, and she could play anything. My father always wanted to play the horn that slides. He wanted to play the trombone. He never did, but he sang in the choir. So I grew up around that. And in the street, when I started playing in the street, I would credit a man named Dr. Shaw here in Augusta. He's an Omega man too.
Okay.
Dr. Shaw and band, Mr. Mason, and 2 guys that moved across the street from me when I was about 8 years old. We are friends to this day. In fact, we have a music project that we still do to this day.
Wow.
We present the musical legacy of Ray Charles. And we have 15 pieces, and we travel all over the world, man. We just got back from Bermuda, just in time that we get back before this stuff hit.
Wow.
We played for the Bermuda Music Festival. We were over there for a week. But this guy, Kenny Bronner, and the guy named Everett Cheese Bronner. Cheese, though, he just passed away too, not from this virus stuff, but he just passed away. He's 80 years old and he just passed away. I learned so much from just about attitude and a sense of aesthetic from these guys. It was through this older guy's Cheese that I learned about jazz. Because I, raised in I was a radio child, as most kids are. Strictly radio, and jazz, they didn't play on the radio that much then, much more then than they do now. But it was Stu Cheese. He went to Hampton Institute at that time. It's Hampton University now. But Cheese would come home during the summers, and I never forget he turned me on to Art Blakey, man. And Jazz Messengers, a song called Moaning. I said, wow, that took me to another level, And Kenny, my friend Kenny, played piano, so we would get together and we would be trying to learn these things off the radio. Funny story is that, and we've always loved Ray Charles.
Okay.
But this thing came out about Ray Charles' song, What I Say. And then one of the lyrics in that song is, baby, shake that thing. My mama, we will not have that music played in this house. That's a little risque for the time, as compared to now, but it was just as risque then. But we would play that thing, man. And like I said, and today, he's 75, I'm 73, and here we are for the last 6 years. I mean, brothers by another mother and father, playing that music that we started out on. Well, so the Bronner brothers, a guy named Bobby Cigarette Jones, saxophone, and the great saxophonist Sinclair Pinckney. Sinclair played with James Brown from about 1956 and up until Sinclair passed about 10 years ago. He came down with emphysema, but from Sinclair I learned so much. A guy named Leroy Lloyd,
Mm.
We had a band called Leroy Lloyd and the Swinging Dukes.
Swinging Dukes.
That's right. That's
Uh-huh.
right. We played as far north as Boston. The folks that run Boston
Yeah, I got
wanted
you.
us to stay up there and play, man, but we didn't. And so I just learned about discipline in music. I went to Morehouse College, and at Morehouse, they were I was minoring in music, majoring in PE. That's
Okay.
a strange
I was
combination.
about to say that's a little odd.
But I was a swimmer. I
Mm-hmm.
went down a swimming scholarship. But they were teaching mainly Western music there, Western European classical music, I'll
Mm-hmm.
call it. And it was good. But in my mind at that time, a freshman in college, I'm thinking Charlie Parker to me is just as important as Bach and Beethoven and Debussy. But they didn't want that played. Jazz was not accepted on campuses in the 60s like it is now. You can go to a school, especially so-called historically black colleges did not really accept it, man.
Wow, they didn't accept it back then?
Well, there are a lot of things we didn't accept about ourselves back then.
Wow.
You know
That's
what I'm
deep.
saying?
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah, a lot of things. And so it was not accepted. And I was doing well at Morehouse. And my second year, I got up out of there because I wanted to see what it was like to be behind the stage and on the big time, and went out and played with Percy Sledge. But so Percy.
Hold on. You said you left your sophomore year at Morehouse to go play with Percy Sledge.
No, I left to just go play. I wanted to be a
you.
musician, and I ended up playing with Percy Sledge. I came home and played with a group, Leroy Lloyd and the Swinging Dukes, and I did that. But playing with those guys, I learned discipline. I learned street music.
Mm-hmm.
I realized now I should have kept my butt in school. No matter what they were teaching, I could have transferred that to whatever I wanted to do. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that then. I had other thoughts that I was really. I guess it was during the civil rights era too. Because I really believed that Parker trained jazz was just African American classical music was just as important as European classical music, is what I believed.
And you thought jazz, and you considered jazz to be African American classical music?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it's America's classical music because it's the only music created right here in America. And if you look at jazz, man, if people should read the book by Leroy Jones called The Blues People.
The Blues People.
It shows how jazz is a synthesis of, you got those black people that stepped off the ship, didn't know anything. They had that language with them and mental artifacts, but everything else was taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, this music we call jazz developed out of these people. They didn't know that when they stepped off the ship, but something in this thing that we were thrown into brought about the creation of this music, jazz.
Wow.
Blues comes from America. Strange thing that happened. Am I on course here?
Oh, good, man, dude. I'm sitting here. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You keep on. You go.
I was in Africa once, and in Angola.
Okay.
Luanda, and these people came by and picked me up one evening and took me way out into the bush, man. I mean, dirt, mud roads out into the bush, and we came to this what they call a kraal. Mm-hmm. It's a big round thing, like a village, but a round thing. But they were having a music there. Mm-hmm. This band was on stage playing, and I thought I was in the Caribbean.
Really?
I'm telling you, the music was the same thing as you hear, like the calypso in the Caribbean. I said, whoa, wait a minute.
This is Angola.
This is Angola.
Wow.
1971, So that said to me, wow. So this music we took this music across the water. Now, most people don't know the connection of that, how that music came across the rhythms. And as we, if you look at the music that we play in the South of America, Georgia and Mississippi, and as that music moved north to New York City, things change. You can play blues one way in Mississippi, but it's another kind of thing in New York City. The environment. But Leroy Jones in his book, The Blues People, talks about that.
Leroy Jones.
Yeah, Leroy Jones. Amir Baraka.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but so those people, it's been a multitude of people. I really say the road was my Berkeley or my Juilliard for learning music. James Brown was, James Brown, it was the musicians that he surrounded himself with that made his music. It was the musician. He had a feel, but it was the musicians that Fred Wesley, talking about Brown, would come to him and say, Fred, got an idea, man. Fred said, I don't know what the heck you're doing. But Fred would write something that would imply that rhythm that he gave him. So those are like Sinclair, Alfred Pee Wee Ellis, Fred Wesley, and there's a guy that went to Shaw University, I forget his name. And of course, everybody know Maceo,
Maceo.
Yeah, but Maceo was more so of a funk player. And if you notice, this is the thing I know, and James Brown had Maceo, Ray Charles had David Fathead Newman, was his saxophone. Those guys just synced musically, the same thinking. I had the pleasure of playing with Maceo when he was stationed in Augusta. He was stationed in an Army station in Augusta. I played for him with a year and a half, man. And that just took my mind to a whole, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, man, because we would play these clubs and, these joints way out in the middle of nowhere with dirt floors and smoky on the inside. And fish sandwiches.
Fish sandwiches in the back.
That's right, man. Fried chicken mixed in with it.
On light bread.
Hello. Only way. With mustard and hot sauce.
There you go.
We would play these places, and these people dance, you know what I'm saying? And you had to be laying it down rhythmically. People would dance. Maceo would sometimes cut the whole band off, just him, and keep playing his saxophone. At that time, he was playing tenor saxophone. People would keep dancing like the whole band was playing.
Really? With
the way he was injecting those rhythms, it just did it. So I learned from that.
Wow.
As many, I got to hang out with Jimmy Heath one time in Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Heath,
he just passed away this year, right? He was like 90, 95, 90, something like that.
Exactly.
Yep.
They were playing a place called the Popcorn Club in Geneva, Switzerland. And I went to see them. There was Tootie Heath, Jimmy Heath, and his brother, the bass player, Percy Heath on bass. They had a piano player. They weren't satisfied with the piano player because they got a piano, so they would complain. But anyway, I went up to Jimmy and I said, man, I really like you playing, man. I said, man, I can only play the blues. I wish I could play jazz. Jimmy said to me, I wish I could play the blues.
Wow.
That was a lesson.
Wow.
That was a lesson for me, and we hung out the rest of the night.
So you said lesson. So it's almost like the grass is greener type scenario, right? Like you were fascinated by what he was doing, but then on the flip side, he was an expert at what he was doing, but he was fascinated with what you could do.
Yeah. Well, he told me to respect the blues just as much as I wanted to do something else, jazz too. Because I didn't really, blues is the root of jazz. Blues is the root of hip hop, of all the things that's happening now. Blues is the root of it. Once slavery ended and, the field hollers and that kind of thing came from the fields, once slavery ended, and for a brief period, we were just allowed to do sacred music, so to speak. But when slavery ended, we could get into that secular thing out in the juke joints. And that gave rise to this blues. Even Ray Charles, when he started, Ray Charles would take, instead of saying "my Jesus" in a song, he changed the song. He said "my baby."
And they didn't like that too much.
Oh, he got ostracized for that. So it all comes out of that. Talking with Jimmy, that was the lesson for me to respect my music. Who else? A guy named Martin Banks in the Apollo Theater, trumpet player. Martin Banks said to me, he used to take me down in the basement because he saw I was young, really trying to learn how to play. I'm gonna go get you this book, Calicchio. It's a trumpet book, but you can learn from it. I took that in, man. That took me a long ways. But it's just been numerous people that I've met, that I've educated, I've learned music from, or to study, approach it, and really studying it. I'm fortunate that I learned how to read, and over the years I learned how to write. I wish I had studied more orchestration, but I've learned. I do pretty good.
Man, dude, I'm gonna tell you, even it's interesting. That was your shout outs, right? So, and it took you down a lane of all of these things, all of these influences that have come to help to build who you are over the course of your musical legacy, which has spanned 6 decades now,
Ooh, I don't hate to think. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, but guess what? It's continuing. That's the key. It's continuing. And and that was fascinating. One of the things that you mentioned, and this is something that I kind of put a pin in personally. You mentioned the concept of rhythm, right? You talked about how rhythm, when you went to Angola, how there was this rhythm, right? There was this rhythm that was there, that you saw this connectivity to the Caribbean. Right. Yeah. But then you also mentioned when you were playing these juke joints with Maceo, how the concept of that rhythm had to stay consistent because the people were looking to move. And as you think about us as Black folks, we are a rhythmic people. So it's like that tie that binds, regardless of what genre, because as Jimmy Heath mentioned, respect the blues like you respect jazz, because it's that tie that binds. It's the rhythm, that rhythm that's inside of us that we can't explain. And, and it's even before we got started, I was kind of going through it a little bit, and you were like, man, let's just roll. And I was like, I forgot you a jazz man. And anything that I watch about jazz men and the guys playing, it's like, I don't see them reading music so much. It's kind of this feel. It's this rhythm,
It's an improvised music. It's an improvised music. To me, jazz, but first, let me say this too.
Okay.
I think all God's children got a rhythm.
Absolutely.
And all God's children, we interpret, and that's a fascinating thing, we all interpret rhythm differently. Chinese got their thing, it's funky to them, Europeans have their thing, it's funky to them. Africa got it, everybody got. And the thing is to embrace all of these things and respect them, each one. But don't put one over the other. And I think a lot of times that's what imperialism and manifest destiny has. Like I said, I went to college and jazz was not considered a legit music in academia, That has, I thank God that has changed. That it is now seen, but all God's children. I played in a country and western band for 2 years.
Wow.
And I said, wow. I said, this is this folks' soul. Because they could do it, man. They do this 2-step around in a circle. They be dancing with the lady and spinning around to these 2 beat, doom, 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 doom. I said, wow, that's their rhythm. So that also takes away prejudice.
Absolutely.
It throws it out the
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you can see the beauty and you can see the value in the diverse approach to it all because you understand the true root to music. I'm gonna go back to something. It was interesting. I think you and I had a dialogue on Facebook. It was after Shaka Khan did the what did she sing? The national anthem to and I think you had made a comment about it. And I remember it was funny. It's coming to me now. And you made a comment about it, and I think somebody was jumping in and saying, "Oh, she sounded horrible," and she said this, she said that. You made a comment, and then I defaulted to you. I'm like, my man is a musician.
Yeah.
He might hear things differently than the common ear might hear it.
Yeah.
And so you might be able to hear some beauty in the midst of this, seemingly chaos, but from a person who is not musically inclined. You have an ear to hear that. And so to me, this concept of rhythm, and you just eloquently put it out there, how everybody has their own rhythm and it's all funky to them because of who they are, but because of your experience, you don't have prejudice there. So you're able to see how there's something beautiful in everybody's rhythm.
Yeah, it's a matter of how much you've exposed your ear to also. Harmonically, rhythm and harmonically. When that song with Shaka Khan was singing, she expanded the harmonic of the. She was singing the Star Spangled Banner, right?
Yeah, she was doing the Star Spangled Banner. Yeah.
She expanded that song harmonically. From an African perspective, because she was twisting and bending notes all through that thing. She was expanding, and most people would disagree, but I'd still question how expansive is your ear. For example, if you listen to James Brown and then listen to Ornette Coleman, find Ornette Coleman's record called Skies of America, and check that out. Now that these are the boundaries of harmony that this guy is exploring. You listen to the last record that Coltrane made, where he did something about the different astrological signs. He sung, but it was just him and a drummer. Just him and a drummer. They were exploring out. So Shaka in singing that song was stretching the boundaries. The ears, oh, say, can you see? She put something else on that. Same notes, same thing, but she didn't necessarily have to sing those notes in that order and it still be the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you mentioned
how expansive your ear is.
And there's a concept that I tend to roll on, and it's the concept of exposure leads to opportunity, right? And so to that point where when you're exposed to different things, and it's kind of like with food, when you expose your palate to different types of foods, you're like, hold up, I can explore different things. I can open myself up. Or travel. When you go to different countries, and you're not just watching the news to see how they depict it, but you put your feet down and you interact and you shake hands. I mean, I know we're social distancing, so we ain't shaking hands right now, but when you can again, you're shaking hands, you're hugging, you're dancing, you're tasting the food, you're seeing how things are with your own eyes. It opens up, and exposure leads to opportunity. And I think it leads to what you're talking about in regards to how expansive is your ear. But your experiences are the same way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the, I've always said that's the downside of traveling. Traveling the world and meeting people. When I travel, no matter where I was, man, I didn't want to be, and I travel as a musician, so it wasn't like a tourist where I go on guided tours.
Yeah.
I went out, for example, in Johannesburg, on my birthday, I had 8 birthday parties out in Soweto.
Wow.
In one night, you know what I'm saying? I'm in the shabeens and people's houses, we hanging out, man. But I met people. I met people, and that expands your mind. Once I was in Saudi Arabia, and Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. And we were traveling, we were on our way to the gig, and this guy was the cab driver driving the cab, and he had on the whole Arab get-up. I forget the name of it. I got one downstairs. He had the whole get-up on. And so we had in the cab, and he said, "Robert, quick with him." I said, "Man, what is he talking about? What is he saying?" This guy stops the cab and gets out, goes to the trunk, gets his prayer rug and prays. We're out in the middle of the desert.
Wow.
That was that sent a lesson to me. That I respect other people's religion too. I hate to hear people put other people's belief systems down. You know, that traveling expanded that to.
Man, can I tell you what that is jogging my memory as well. In 2016, my wife and I, we went to Tanzania, and we went to Tanzania by way of Doha, Qatar. And so we had basically a day and a half layover in Doha, Qatar. And so the cool thing was we got to hang out in Doha. So we went down to the souks, and we actually, we went to the Islamic Welcome Center, and we hung out with people, met different folks. And what was crazy was, again, you see the news and how everything's depicted about the Middle East, but then you walk around, everybody looked like bin Laden. You know what I'm saying? So it throws your sensibilities off a little bit, right?
Exactly.
But it's the story that I tell a lot. We were in there, and my wife went and got like one of those little henna tattoos on her hand. So, they draw the little henna tattoo on you. And so we were in this little shop. She was getting a henna tattoo. We were talking to the lady. She was super friendly. We were just talking about life and everything. And the lady had on regular clothes. But once my wife's henna tattoo was done, there was like a shift change. So before the lady got up to leave to go out the door, she threw on a full burqa in which you saw nothing but her eyes. Yeah. She waved and said, "Hey, y'all have a good day," and walked out the door. And again, it was like this sensibility thing. Like you thought, and basically, if you look at the news or you look at things, you're taught to fear that. Whereas 5 minutes before, this lady wearing just a t-shirt and some jeans was sitting there talking to my wife doing the henna tattoo. Before she left, she threw on a full all black burqa in which you saw nothing but her eyes. Exactly. But again, it's that whole notion of exposure to that helps to break down these walls or break down these barriers. Your sensibilities change. Then you're open to connecting with people.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about.
The oneness of humanity is beautiful, man. It's like a church. If a church had plain old white windows in that church, that would be boring as heck. Stained glass windows, man, are beautiful. Because it's diverse, man. The beautiful mankind is just, it's fascinating to me. That's one of the things I got. The first time I went to London. Now, I ain't never, excuse my, I talk better than that, but
it's all good. Look, we having fun, man.
But the first time I went to London, man, and I hadn't been out of the South. I was raised when American apartheid was at its most, black and white signs down, colored signs downtown, the whole trip, So I hadn't been around white folks, white people. At all, man. We had a white paper boy that used to throw the evening paper on our street, but he did that about 2 days. We rocked him off the street. I like to apologize to him. But,
okay.
But the first time I went to London, I was with Percy Sledge, and we went to this press conference. And mind you, I'd never been out of the country. And it was the first time I'd ever been in a room full of European people, white folks. And they took Percy to another room.
Wow.
Man, I'm thinking lynching.
By yourself.
Ku Klux Klan. I'm thinking about the monument in downtown Augusta that has never has a nation arisen so white and pure. All this, I put my hand on my knife then. I'm just joking.
No, look, you tell the truth, a different day and age.
But I had to throw, at that moment, these people came to me differently from anything that I ever known in my life. These people, we were equals there. So I had to take all that prejudice in me and this pre-concept of who white people were and set it aside. Because these people, it treated me differently, man. And I said, that freed me up. That took a load off me. That took a load. And plus my mama had always instilled in me, what she said, you're no better than anybody else and you're no less than anybody else. I always took that to heart. I
Wow.
always took that to heart, but I knew what the deal was. But I had, at that moment, I realized, England got its problems
Oh,
too.
absolutely. No place is immune. Like nobody's perfect, right? No situation or country is perfect, but it was
Yeah.
different.
But the taking off of that, ridding myself of that, made me see America in a different light too.
How?
Uh, I was going to do what I wanted to do, man. I was going to. I remember this one time I took this example of that. I was dating this girl from Canada. She had blonde hair and blue eyes. She was quintessential European girl. And we rode down, and we were coming back from. We had played in Huntsville, Alabama, so we were on our way back to it. I was on my way to Greenville, and I dropped her off in Atlanta. But out, where was it? Huntsville? I forget. It's up in the mountains, coming down from Huntsville. Stopped at this place way out. It's an old country store. And the couple in the store looked like you never seen the Whistlers painting of the couple with the man with the pitchfork?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way they look, And so I'm in there, and I just go in, and they had a Coke machine in there that had 6 cents on it, 6 cents for Coke. So I was fascinated by that. Yeah, 6 cent Coke. So we were having a nice conversation, man. Beautiful conversation. Then all of a sudden, the young lady that was with me came into the store. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and they shut up. They stopped talking. I said, well, bump that. They can't see the forest for looking at the trees. And so I proceeded, got what I got, and we got out of there, dropped her off in Atlanta, and I went on to Greenville, South Carolina. I called home, and Mama told me, she said, the FBI is looking for you.
Whoa.
I said, what? FBI? She said, yeah. She said, you got to call the office in Atlanta. I called the office in Atlanta, and the guy said, and how they tracked me down, I don't know to this day how they
That's
found
amazing.
me. But they thought I was Sin-Q and she was Patty Hearst.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but to come back into that kind of perception, in my mind, I was doing what I wanted to do. Regardless. That's the way. Traveling just opens you up to a whole lot of things. I'm a member of of a church I grew up in, but my religious belief is not denominational. I don't know what it is. I believe in the spirituality of mankind. Even though we do it in different ways, we got different names for the supreme being. But we do it I don't put one over the other. And it bothers me when I hear preachers down another religion in the pulpit. That's a no-no.
And that literally, and to your point, your exposure opened you up to being open to viewing things in different ways. I'm going to tell you, there's a point there that does become challenging for some folks. And I think it's a little bit of fear, because I think, I put a post out the other day, and, we always used to grow up with the concept, curiosity killed the cat, right? But the way that I flip it is, curiosity may have killed the cat, but curiosity also helped to make the man, right? Yeah. And we have to keep that curiosity, but a lot of us fear curiosity because of what it might uncover. So we don't want to go deep into discovering something or to exploring something because we're fearful of what we might find. So what do? We say, you know what? No, I'll just stay in my country, or I'll just stay in my neighborhood, or I'll just stay with my group over here because I'm scared of what I might uncover. And whereas to me, the exposure opens you up to say that it's okay to go and discover. It's okay to go and, be curious. And but then also lean into the stuff that you find, because you might find something that's beautiful.
Yeah. Humanity is a beautiful thing. It's you have to respect everything. And that's something I worship in my church. And I also question, I say, suppose you were raised in, say, Saudi Arabia. What would you believe?
That's real.
Suppose you were raised in Nigeria. what would you believe?
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in Georgia. What do I believe? I was raised as a Baptist. So what do I believe? I was raised as a Baptist, Catholic, and Episcopalian. That's messed.
You talking about diversity?
Yeah, man. That's the truth, though. I went to the Catholic school. I was a member of St. Mary's Episcopal Church. And then I started going to my daddy's church and Baptist church. I joined the Baptist church. It's all good, you know.
Wow.
That diversity, man.
Mm.
And that expands you in all kind of ways.
Man, you know, and we kind of backtrack a little bit, man, because we talk about diversity, we talk about exposure, and one of the things that's interesting about your story is your exposure, especially to music, came early on from your mother, right?
Yeah.
And for some that do not know, I'm very privy to know because this is family. For some that don't know, tell the world a little bit about your mother, Miss. Well, I knew her as Miss Creaky, right? But Aunt Rosa. But
hello.
Yeah. But tell the world a little bit about your mother from a musical perspective and some of the influences that she was integral into influencing that have gone on to impact the world.
Well, one in particular.
And I know where you're going. I'm opening this up.
Jessye Norman. Mama saw Jessye Norman in the 7th grade. I'll never forget. We were over at Charles T. Walker one night for something in the auditorium where your granddaddy was a principal at
That's
one
right.
time.
My granddaddy was a principal.
And she saw this girl sing. And from that moment, something snapped. From that point on, for the next 4 or 5 years for sure, that Jessye was her thing. Jessye was in our house. She practically lived at our house. With Mama going, teaching her vocal techniques and exposing her to musics and all this. Mama went as far as took her to the Marian Anderson contest in Philadelphia. Mama didn't know that at the time that contest was for people that were in graduate school in music.
Wow.
Jessye was just in, I think, a junior in high school, if I'm not mistaken.
And she took her there.
Yeah, she took her up there.
Wow.
And Jessye did well. The people say, wow, it's a Marian Anderson contest in Philadelphia. And she did well, man. They recommended. So, but on the way back home, Mama caught the train down. They caught the train down to Washington, D.C. And it turned out it so happened that Mama's former music teacher at Payne College, a man named Dr. Fax, was in charge of the music department at Howard University. So Mama took Jessye by there, and she spoke to Dr. Fax. Dr. Fax, in turn, I forget the lady's name, took Mama to the lady that was in charge of the vocal department at Howard. And Jessye went in and auditioned for the lady. I forget the lady's name. And the rest is history.
Wow. And so that's how Jessye Norman got to Howard.
Exactly. It turns out too that the spelling of it, Mama was she knew what was happening with Jessye, early on. Jessye's original spelling, her name was Jessye. Mama changed that to Jessye to put a little more bling to it.
Wow.
Yeah, she did that, but she saw and she really loved. Jessye Norman was a daughter that my mother never had. Yeah, and she saw Jessye achieved all the goals that I think my mother had envisioned and some more. Because she conquered the world musically.
Oh, she did. She did. She just passed away. Was it last year, Jessye Norman? Yeah.
So that was her involvement with that, and she had other singers around that. Great musicians. One girl here in Augusta, Andre. I forget Andre Clark now, but I forget her last name. Oh, it's Andre is full of music. There was a good boy named Perkins, John Perkins. I think Perkins. Perkins sounded just like Nat King Cole, man.
Wow.
But she took a lot of time in giving to these students. This is outside of her job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She was, I really admire and I learned a lot. I have that same, I guess I learned from there because I've only had one saxophone student in my life because I didn't want nobody to bring it because your mama wants you to play.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't want to, I didn't have time for that. But I've had one saxophone student, man, and that boy now has a master's in saxophone performance from Indiana University.
Wow.
And I tell you, I'm his student now, man.
Wow.
And he's doing good. He's doing good out in the world playing his horn, man. But I learned that from my mom, this giving thing. Man,
you know, it's fascinating. Your mom had the ability to see talent, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a gift in itself, is because a lot of people can hear somebody singing like, oh yeah, they good. That boy good. That boy can sing, or that girl can sing, and they go on to the next. Even those that are in music, but it takes one with really good ear and foresight to say that one's good, but there's something about that one that's special.
Yeah.
You know, and what's interesting about that, she did that with them. How much of that then influenced you? Did you watch it from afar, or did she also say like, you know what, I'm wanting you all to become all of that? Or was that something that you just through osmosis, you know what I'm saying? Because you stop and you think just being around it, it's like when you just surround yourself with greatness, right? You're just surrounded by it all. It's just like you just pick it up by default. Or was that poured into you intentionally as well?
It affected me in knowing how technical music is, how precise you have to be. Aside from feeling what's in your soul, you have to train what's in your soul to present it. You know, you have to train it. You have to constantly train. So I learned that from her. But as far as music, I couldn't actually, and I think this gets to the civil rights field, I couldn't stand classical music, man. I want to hear me some James Brown, you know, and some Monk. But you know, now I appreciate all music, but I learned the serious, so therefore that led me to approach R&B and jazz like you approach European classical music. With the same sincerity, to sit and listen. You know, it's going to make you, you know, African music is a functional music. Don't sit up in a concert hall and say, well,
no, not at all.
Bravo. You know, it has another function. But I approached it with the same, if doing pop, we got a brand new bag, working out the harmony and what the horns are playing, how are the horns voiced on that. With the same seriousness.
It's a rhythm, but yet it's also serious. And the technical aspect to it, if you combine it all, it's kind of like, it goes back to what we talked about with diversity, right? Exposure to the technical, exposure to the rhythm, pushing those two things together, that's when you start really changing the world.
Yeah, man. It's music is a fast, and it grows you. Another thing about music, jazz too, per se, is that jazz kind of mirrors our democratic system. You know, in a democratic system, everybody, you got to carry your own weight.
Absolutely.
You got to carry your weight. And if you don't make contributions, that system will not function properly.
100%.
Yeah. So therefore, in a jazz combo, you go into a piece of music and we got a name for the song, but we don't know how we're going to play it. All we do is start playing. So we have to listen intently to each other to see what each other's playing, not to step on his foot. You don't step on mine. So it mirrors democracy in the same way.
That's fascinating. Like, I mean, it's feel, right? But let me tell you what's interesting, hearing you say that, it also makes you think about the notion of it's also not about the individual itself either.
Exactly. I was going to say communal. It's a very communal music. As our country is. Now, you're seeing, we depending, now it's a global dependence is coming about now. We're seeing how with this, I think we're seeing how dependent we are on each other as human beings,
Mm.
you know, and to bring it home, how dependent, and, you know, those people who we thought were we least thought about are the people that are in the trenches now.
Mm.
All the service people, the medical responders, and these people, the people that are getting the food out of the fields,
Mm-hmm.
all those people go to make this democracy work. They all have a place, and you can't agitate that. You
Mm.
have to respect. And so jazz is that way too. And if somebody messing up, like at Minton's in Harlem, that's where bebop was born, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say some guys, you know, they always got a guy gonna come in, he want to showboat for the ladies, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Get up and can't play, he get up there. Man, they should take guys out back and beat them up.
You trying to showboat?
Yeah, trying to showboat and can't really play. You know, he was not contributing to the music.
Mm.
So you can't do that. You got to get up and be ready.
You got to get up and be ready, but then it's communal. And that ties back into one thing that you mentioned about James Brown. You said what made James Brown were the musicians that he put around him.
Exactly.
Because he just said, I want to hear,
Yeah,
and then like, okay, so it's up to y'all to go figure out what means.
Duke Ellington was the same way.
Mm.
Duke Ellington, you know, he and Billy Strayhorn, they had music. They wrote for the musicians in their band.
Mm.
They wrote for the Johnny Hodges, Cat Anderson on the trumpet. They wrote music for those people. And those people, Fred Wesley said that when he went to play with Count Basie,
Mm-hmm.
they had the notes on the paper, right? You know, they had the arrangements written out, but it wasn't played like that. The phrasing, the way they used those notes was something you had to learn over a period of time. It's what made the Count Basie sound, you know. You know, it's the way you phrase those things. So music is, you know, you have to know where you're heading. You have to really listen. It's communal, pay attention. Fred was reading the notes right, but communally, he was somewhere else. where the rest of the group was. And once he got that down, he was a part of that community in the Count Basie band.
And so it's a feel. And we're bringing this thing full circle because early on in our conversation, you mentioned that there were 4 times, but 2 times that you could remember that you got to a point in which this thing just flowed through you. It was almost like you can't even remember how it happened. It was that feel. You know, a lot of people would call it, you know, kind of being in the zone, all right? Or you're in that flow state. You know what I'm saying? Talk to us a little bit about those 2 experiences, man.
That's not really much to tell, man, other than I took a solo and I played the solo. And while I was playing it, I said, wow. You know, it was, like I said, it was like I wasn't playing the horn at all. And I couldn't play it again. Another time I did it was in New York at my friend's house. We were preparing for something we were getting ready to do. And he said, man, play a solo right here. I didn't even know the song, didn't know anything. But I played, and I said, wow, was that me? Mm-hmm. And then he said, well, let's somebody messed up. He said, let's go with that part again. I could not play that same thing again. It's like the switch had been cut off. You know, Sonny Rollins says that, and I try to achieve this, you know, he's not playing until he's really not thinking.
He's not playing until he's not thinking.
Yeah, he's not thinking.
Ooh, man, there's I don't know if you checked, it's a documentary on Netflix called Quincy, about Quincy Jones.
I saw it last night.
Man, check this out. Man, the part and I've used this and when I've done speaking engagements and all, and the part that got me was when he was producing Michael Jackson's Off the Wall album, and the reporter was there next to him. And they were talking to him. They were like, so Quincy, when you're producing this type of thing, you know, do you have everything lined up and ready to go? And, you know, with an artist like Michael Jackson, and, you know, he was talking like he always, he said, no, baby. You know, when I have a, you know, when I have a project like this, you know, I always leave 20 to 30% room for the Lord to move through the room because that's when the magic happens. And he said, music is about capturing magical moments.
Exactly.
And for me, I utilize that, or I transpose that to talking about life, because to me, life is also about capturing magical moments.
Exactly.
And if you're not open to capturing magical moments, you miss it.
Exactly. And it's something you can't put your hand on.
Mm.
All you do, I think you prepare the vessel to receive.
Ooh, that's deep.
That's why I'm here now. I still got these bebop books, I study all this stuff. But like I said, when I play, throw that to the side. I listen, I transcribe stuff from Monk and from Fathead, from Coltrane, from Parker, but I throw that away because I want to get as close to my soul as possible when I play.
Oh, dude, man, when you study, you're preparing your vessel to receive.
Yeah.
But then when it's time to perform, you let it go.
Yeah. Chance favors the prepared mind.
Oh, Lord have mercy, man. I'll tell you, dude. Like we're gonna have to potentially do a part 2, 3, 4, or 5, or because I'm gonna tell you, man. This is really blessed me, man, to really just kind of dive into your story, because there's so many lessons that you've encountered, but these lessons that were based upon or had the backdrop of music can be applied to life. They can be applied to being a man. They can be applied to fatherhood. And so one of the things that I'd like to come back, and kind of wrap our conversation up, part 1 of our conversation up, is how have these experiences, by playing with everybody across the world, traveling the world, being the sax man's sax man, you know what I'm saying? Like, how have all of these experiences come back to inform you and influence you as a father?
It has scared me, Mike. The awesome responsibility of being a father. My son said to me once in the car, he was about Gamal, Gamal. Gamal said to me, he was about 5 or 6 years old. He looked at me and he said, "Daddy, you know everything, don't you?" That's an awesome responsibility for somebody to look up to you like that. And traveling made me want to expose my children to things outside of their little world. Even in teaching, I taught school for 32 years. In teaching, I tried to take my children, I taught history too, so I was right, rabbit in the brown fence, to take my students outside of their little world, to expand their horizons. Because you don't know where you're headed. You have no idea what's around the corner. And I used to tell my kids, I want my kids to explore, my children to find your soul, find what do you have a passion for? What is your passion? And I tell them, I've known early on, I love to swim. I love swimming. I love music, and I love reading. Always have since I was a little boy. And those things have sustained me and feeding me.
Wow.
Those passions. So I'm disturbed when I hear children say, I'll ask, what is your passion? I don't know. I cannot fathom that. I don't understand that. That you don't know what do you have a passion for? And whatever it will feed you. When I came home off the road, I'd been out on the road for 12 years. I left home with $33 and I came back with $75.
Wow.
I made a few dollars, man.
There you go. But over 12 years, you still came back with a net positive. But so I had to start from zero. And the first thing that contributed to my getting in a better life situation was one of my passions, swimming. Got a job out at YDC because nobody else could lifeguard out at that pool.
Al worked out there too,
Oh yeah. My Uncle Al.
Yeah. Swimming. And then music has afforded me to see the world. Reading and knowing history aided me in teaching school and teaching history. Because just that reading, I could teach other than, for example, I taught Georgia history, and there was one sentence in the book about this place called, I'll just shorten the name, Fort Mose. You get to Fort Mose?
I'm not familiar with Fort Mose.
The first Black settlement in America, located just north of St. Augustine, Florida, right outside. When the slaves were in, when the Africans were in South Carolina, and Georgia was like in between, there was nothing in Georgia, you call it debatable land. Well, the Spanish said, well, if y'all can escape and get to Florida, we will give you your freedom if you accept the Catholic religion. So I'm saying, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. But so that place was established there, Fort Mose. And it's a state park now. But they only had one sentence in the book. Well, my students had to do a project on that.
Wow.
Wow. My students had to do a project on that, and that instills something in them. So it's just those three passions, man, have sustained me. So I think as a father, lead your children toward finding their passion, and you have to be a good example for them. And the scary part to me, Mike, is sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. I've seen parents do all the right thing and turn out with some messed up.
Absolutely. Messed up
parents do all the wrong thing and turn out with just perfect specimens. So it's but you can't err in doing right by your child.
You can't err in doing right by your child.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, hearing you say that again, I'm going back to thinking about the elements of jazz and how, you have to feel and you have to be in tune. You have to, be connected to everybody else is involved with it, and you kind of let it flow, right? Even what you just said, what we talked about earlier, how, your study is preparing the vessel to receive, right?
Yes.
And so as a father, it seems like we can take some of those elements, because there's no guarantee, right? There's no guarantee that your jazz set's going to be the bomb and it's going to be like some monumental thing that, everybody's playing for a century to come. It might be a flop, right? Yeah. But that set might also be something that transforms music.
Yeah.
But you got to be open to it. Back to the whole Quincy Jones thing. You have to be open to that magic potentially happening. It might not happen, but you got to be open to it.
Yeah. And it's it's nothing more beautiful than to see children blossom. Just the other night, I had this friend, man, he gave me some toilet tissue.
Okay.
That's like gold now.
Yeah, man, what you talking about, man? You trading gold for toilet tissue.
But I was sitting at this filling station waiting on him to arrive. And it turned out one of my former students saw me. He came and said, Mr. Sanders, man. He said, man, you don't know what you did for me when I was in school, man, because what was going on at home. And he said, man, you lifted me up. I said, well, what are you doing now, Patrick? He said, I'm in my third year of college.
Wow.
I said, wow, man. Oh, you can't pay me enough for that. There's not enough money in the world for that. So, I mean, it's inspiring to see your children reach their goals and do what they do. And I'm proud of all my children. They can feed themselves. They ain't got to come to dad.
There you go. I love it, man.
Yeah. They might not have gone the way you wanted them to go, but they found what they wanted to do. And it's legal, and they're not going to jail and not doing this. They're doing this, but it's a risk. I don't know if I'd have children knowing the responsibility of it.
But see, you know what though? But see, that's the blessing or the beauty of us not finding out about that until we already have them.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness, man.
You got to do it by ear as you go, man.
Man, look at here, man. I tell any new dad that's coming into the mix, I tell every last one of them, I'm like, you know what? You're ready and not ready at the same damn time.
Yeah, I was impressed by your children. Mm-hmm. I had a chance to meet them once. Maggie and Keith had them over at the Y one day swimming. Uh-huh. So I got a chance to talk to. Oh man, I'm saying, wow, this is. I mean, very enunciating properly and just exchanging ideas. You know, not you know, they were talking, man, and energetic. You know, and listened when I had asked them questions and responded. I said, yeah, but then I saw where you and your wife take them on trips and expose them to stuff.
Mm-hmm. You know, our goal is, man, we want our kids before they finish high school to touch every continent in the world.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's the goal, man. I mean, obviously, Antarctica's, we don't have to do Antarctica. That's fine. Oh. But I mean, if we don't make it there, we're cool. 6 out of 7 is cool. But that ultimately is the goal, man. I mean, it was a blessing this past October, you know, prior to all this stuff popping, we were able to take them to Italy. And so we went to Rome. And so they were able to hang out and walk through the Colosseum and go to the Vatican and see the Pantheon, and to hang out at Trevi Fountain. I mean, do all of these things. They were able to do that and experience it and taste it and cook, you know, do cooking classes, learn how to make pizza in Italy. I mean, like little things like that are so important to us. And again, I would sacrifice stuff all day, every day for our kids to have these rich experiences, because that's going to, again, inform who they are and inform how they perceive the world itself.
And the thing is, they don't even know that yet.
And that's the beauty of it, because they don't know what they don't know. But once they can kind of put the dots together and it lines up, it's going to be like, wow.
And and speaking about, my parents were that way. My parents, we were fortunate that we would get on the train at Union Station in Augusta, with the chicken in the shoebox, and go up to Philadelphia and New York during the summer. Some summers we would go up and stay in the Teresa Hotel, smack dab in the middle of Harlem.
Wow.
I mean, I'm like 10, 11, 12 years old. So I'm like, wow. New York, but to be exposed to that, to see it, we took trips down to Florida, and just seeing, and that shaped me. That shaped who I am, and that exposure. Now, see, your children will be, they're gonna be something special. I was very impressed by them, to say the least, man.
Oh, well, thank you. So, you know, again, you need those points, you know, those words of affirmation or confirmation, because sometimes you be wondering, you're like, man, look at here.
Well, I used to tell my middle school students, I said, they call this the middle years, because during this time, I got this from Bill Cosby. You're suffering brain damage. Sixth, seventh, eighth, and up until the 9th grade, your brain is just, you don't know whether you want to suck a pacifier or drive your car around the block, you know? I said, you will outgrow that. You will eventually, just hang in there. You'll outgrow it.
Just look, the key is hang on and don't let go.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man. Well, brother, this has been fascinating. And again, we're going to have to do another phase of this. And offline, I want to talk to you a little bit more, because I think your story is one that really needs to be told on a very massive scale. So we'll definitely talk more about it. But I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule, out of your chill time, out of your rehearsal time, out of your quarantine to really just walk through your story, your journey, and to open up and share your journey and story with the brothers listening, because I think there's something in your story that can help every last one of the brothers listening to pour into their own life, to do things a little bit differently, to ultimately be the best version of themselves. So I thank you for sharing.
I just pray that there was some logic to it.
Whether it's logic or not, I'm talking to a jazz man. It's about feel, brother. But man, I really want to thank you for spending time with us today, man. And definitely anything that we can ever do for you. Is there anything else you'd like to kind of share with the Black Fathers Now family?
Be spiritual to your children. Love your children. I mean, love them. Because one thing, they grow up so fast. They're with you today and gone tomorrow, man. It goes by so fast. And, you know, they are the future of this world, of this planet, not just the United States. They are the future of, and love them and guide them in the right way. And don't be, and always stay open. Check yourself out too. Check yourself out, because we all have little hang-ups, that scars that we bring with us, and you don't want to pass those on to your children. We all have those scars. You know, I was in England, I had to take that prejudice thing when I was in that room full of white people and get rid of it. So I think as parents too, we have to make sure we aren't putting these scars that we've encountered, and everybody's going to get some scars, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody got some scars. Make sure we don't pass that on to our children. Or if you do, or if it's happening, if you see it emerging in your child, you know, try to point that out to them, leave them another way. But stay open to them, love them.
Stay open.
Love supreme.
Love supreme. My man.
Love supreme.
My man.
Love supreme.
Oh, my man. Look, again, man, I appreciate you, fam. This has been a joy to me. And again, I think this is really going to really touch a lot of people's lives, man. And so, fellas and ladies listening too, because y'all like to tune in to hear what we're talking about. Let's thank my cousin, my frat brother, the sax man himself, Tim Sanders, for joining us on Black Fathers Now. Make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast. Share this one out. There's others as well, but this one right here, share this one out. You're probably going to want to, you know, go down memory lane and hear it once, twice, maybe even 3 times, because he dropped some bars on this one. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to share it, make sure to leave some comments on this one, because by you leaving comments and you sharing this episode, it helps us to grow in the rankings. And this thing is really going to impact some lives. So fellas, literally make sure to, now question, do you have like some stuff that's out there that people can check out, like on YouTube clips and all of that?
Oh, that's good. The group that I play with now, like I told you, I play with the group, and we present the musical legacy of Ray Charles.
Okay.
We have a 15-piece group, and we were traveling all over up until this stuff hit. But we have our website is rayonmymind.com.
rayonmymind.com. Okay. Now I'm going to have that in the show notes, fellas. So make sure to go to rayonmymind.com and, you know, connect with Tim Sanders. But then also, you know, once the stuff is lifted and we can get out and performances and all of that stuff are happening, if you see Ray on My Mind coming to a city near you, come check your man out.
Hey, next week we were supposed to have been playing in Franklin, North Carolina. Yeah. That's close to you, I think.
Yes, Franklin. That's isn't that Western North Carolina somewhere?
Yeah.
So that's not too far.
Yeah.
Not too far. And so, but yeah, so I'm gonna have that in the show notes, rayonmymind.com. And so make sure y'all check that out. And then if you just Google Tim Sanders, you might find some more stuff out there, right?
Well, as long as it's not on the wall in the post office.
Oh, man. Well, fellas, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.